Hello, Michael here with another How Do I Render tutorial. Today we're going to be having a look at how to render a potion with Redshift. And before we do that, we'll model it up in ZBrush very quickly. When we get to the rendering part, we'll be looking at things like how to get this glass to look fairly realistic, give the potion a bit of a glow, and look at things like alternating the color between the liquid color itself and maybe like these bluer edges. So without further ado, let's jump right into ZBrush. Alright, so here we are in ZBrush. This model is pretty straightforward, so we're just going to start with a sphere. Hit T to go to edit mode. We're going to make that a polymesh 3D. Then we're going to go down to initialize and create a Y cylinder. I'm going to be mainly using ZModeler for all of this. Alright, we'll make sure that symmetry is on the X-axis. And I'm just going to, I guess we could just scale it like that, just to get it to the length that you want roughly. Then at the bottom here, BZM for ZModeler. We're going to hover over there, hit space and go to the transpose, select that, and then we can just move that point down a little bit. So this will create a nice little curve at the bottom here, so I'll just release that mask. Now you'll notice that the transform tool is all over the joint. If we unlock that and then just hit the reset orientation and then the home button, we can get to the center again and relock it. So if we hit smooth subdivision D, we can just see what's going on here. So I'm going to add another edge loop here. So hold down space, single edge loop, and just get that to be sort of roughly the silhouette that you want it. I want it something like that. I'm going to turn off move subdivisions for a moment, and we're going to add in another edge loop at the top here. This is going to be the sort of rim of it. We're going to go to QMesh poly loop and just make sure that, see the line facing to the right, it's going to create a poly loop in that direction rather than on the y-axis. And if you smooth subdivide, that's not going to look correct. So we'll add in another edge loop roughly there. And you can just sort of decide how big you want that rim to be. I think that's going to look okay, so we're just going to roll with that. Then we can QMesh a polygroup island. Just send that down. Actually, no, I'm going to do slightly different. So what I'm going to do is split this, because I just want a bit better edge there. And then on that edge there, you can see it's creased. You can see the double line. We'll go to crease, edge loop complete, and then we'll just hold down Alt and get rid of that creasing. And then we will QMesh a polygroup island. Move that down. Just make sure that that's smooth subdividing nicely. Yep. Now the problem is here that it becomes a bit. I'm going to turn off symmetry for a second. It becomes a bit difficult to see where the that internal bottom is. So turn on smooth subdivide again. Turn on symmetry again. So what I'm going to do is so I'm going to hover over that poly group that's in the center there. I'm just going to turn on perspective so this makes a little bit more sense to look at. So we'll hover over that. We'll go to transpose and polygroup island, and we'll just click on that. And then we'll just hit the go to unmask center so we can see. So that's going to be directly on that that polygroup island in the center there, which is going to be the internal bottom. And then we'll just move that down to there. I don't want it too close to where it starts to curve, because it may start to clip a little bit. You could add another edge loop on the inside there to make sure it's a bit harder at the bottom there. I might even do that. So I'm just going to go insert single edge loop, unmask it. Yeah. All right. So now if I Control Shift Alt, you should see that the face is at the bottom there, which is where I want it. Cool, so that is the main part of the potion bottle done. So we're just going to call that glass. And we're going to append a new sphere, and we're going to initialize that. and we'll turn on transparency. and we'll turn off perspective, and we're just going to scale that in so it's on the inside. We might have to make some further adjustments once we're in Maya. And I'm just going to mask that bottom part there, and then just going to move that down, and then invert the mask and move that up to wherever you want the top of your potion liquid to be. Unmask that, and I'll smooth subdivide that. So I'm going to add another edge loop in there. When we're in Maya, we're going to want to make sure that this potion liquid is actually intersecting the inside edge of the glass, just so we can get a bit better looking refraction. All right, and then we will insert an edge loop here, and then we'll go to QMesh, Polygroup Island, holding down Shift, and what I'm sort of trying to get here is the viscosity of the liquid. So there's a bit of a lip going up. Don't know how easy that's going to be to see on the video, but it's just a very fine bit of adjustment that I've made, just so that edge is a little bit higher than the center there. Just a small detail that can improve the overall look of the liquid. So yeah, once you're happy with that, I think I'm going to sort of go with that. We will rename that subtool to be called Potion. Actually, I'll rename it to be called Liquid. And we just want to make sure that we've got the right subdivisions on these. So this is at 90 polygons, so I might just divide that in Control D. I want it to be pretty smooth, so 1410. This is the only thing in the scene, so I'm not worried about it being too high polygon. That's going to be fine for that one. And then we'll go to we'll delete the lower of that. Go to the potion, and we'll do the same. Divide that until we get it to a smooth subdivision that we like. And then delete the lower. Cool. All right, so that is going to be our little container. So we're just going to export those now, just using Z plugin. It's up here on the shelf if you don't have it mounted like I do. We'll just go to Subtool Master and export, and then click OK and export it to wherever you want. So I'm just going to call it potion underscore, and then the subtool name is going to be appended to the end there. Hit save, and those are exported. Right, let's jump into Maya and have a look at rendering this up. Okay, so here we are in Maya. I've already set up a basic scene just with a little backdrop and a Redshift light there in the foreground. And I've set and saved my project. So I'm just going to import these two meshes now. And if you watch the RenderMan version of this tutorial, I did notice that the liquid, it was a little bit too small, and it was sort of overlapping, creating some bad refraction. So we'll see if the same thing happens here, and if it is, I'll show you how to fix it. So we'll smooth subdivide both of those just by selecting and hitting 3, and we will apply some Redshift shaders. So I've just got the Hype Shade editor here. We'll go to Redshift and create a Redshift material. This first one can be called RS Glass or Vial if you wish. That was the word that I couldn't remember in the last time I recorded this. So this is the vial. We're going to assign that material to it, and we'll just quickly turn that into a glass shader by reducing the weight of the diffuse channel and increasing the weight of the refraction transmission. And you can change the IOR if you want to 1.5 is glass, or 1.45 to 1.5 roughly. So that's cool, so we'll keep that as it is. Next we'll clean up that and we'll create another Redshift material, and this one's going to be the liquid. And once again, we're going to get rid of the weight of the diffuse channel, and we're going to change the refraction transmission color. We're going to go with a green for this one, kind of like that, something like that. We'll increase the weight there as well, and the IOR we're going to change to be 1.33, I think is water off the top of my head, somewhere around there anyway. And we'll keep the reflection weight at 1.0 as well. And we'll just do a quick IPR of that. I'm also just going to show you that I've got the GI engine set to brute force, and I'm just going to be rendering up to 1024 and progressive at 540. Alright, so what have I not done here? Why is it white? Have I assigned it? I don't believe I've assigned it. Make sure you assign it. There we go. So now we have got a vial, and it does look like it's a bit small. You can see it's sort of getting a bit weird there. It's because the upper part isn't quite wide enough. So what we're wanting to do is make it so, I'll just turn on a wireframe mode. We want this edge of the liquid to clip the inside edge of the glass just by a fraction, and by doing so it will create a more realistic refraction of the liquid inside the glass. Because at the moment, I'm going to save this one so you can see the difference. At the moment you can see this sort of edge of the glass, whereas it would actually be reflecting to the outer edge of the glass, and the bottom there sort of looks correct, but it doesn't make sense with the other part. So we'll jump into the side view here, and we'll just resize that to be something like that. Now I still want this bottom part here to be close to the bottom part of the inside of the glass, so I'm going to switch to vertex mode. No, before I do that, I'm going to select the vial, create a new layer, and add selected, and then I can just set that to reference so I don't have to keep selecting it. Go to vertex, we will move, we don't want soft selection on, I'm just going to move that up to be near the edge, so that's the bottom edge of the inside of the glass, and that's the edge of the liquid, so it's overlapping it just slightly, and that should be meeting the edge the whole way around. I'll double check that on a render just quickly. As you can see, still not quite right, so I'll just make that a little bit bigger. I probably could have done to model it so the glass is a bit thicker to make this easier, but you live, you learn. And once again, I'll just fix that there. I should really be in orthographic to do this, but we'll see how that looks. Okay, so we're getting there. So the bottom part looks correct, and there's just this top part here. So now we're going to do a edge selection, and we're just going to select an edge loop there, and then we'll hit B and go to soft selection, and we'll just expand that, and we might have to expand this one a bit as well. All right, that looks like we've got it. All right, so if you were having the same problem, that should hopefully solve it for you. I did end up with the liquid being a bit taller than maybe I wanted. I can fix that very quickly. But if you compare that, see how it's got that internal sort of edgy bit there, that, and you know how it's sort of doing that down there. It doesn't look right. That's sort of more what you're after. If you want to sort of see this in action, just get a clear glass, preferably with fairly thick glass, maybe a wine glass or something like that, and just fill it up with water, and you'll see that the water appears to go to the outside edge of the glass itself, but it's not really doing that. It's just the way the refraction is working to trick your eye. But to be able to achieve a similar effect, this is the way we consider cheat it. Now at the moment the vial of liquid is looking fine. It's not particularly exciting. It doesn't look like a magical, potion, which is what we want it to look like. So what I'm going to do for this particular one, I'm going to do something slightly different to the last tutorial of this, which I did with RenderMan. I'm going to make this liquid here into a mesh light. So I'll go to Redshift, go to lights, create a physical light, and we'll switch that to mesh. Then we'll select our mesh, and then we'll select our light, and we'll link. So now if you look here in the outliner, you'll see that I've got this new mesh for the liquid. And I believe when I was testing this, I noticed that it was a different size to my... Yeah, so you can see that blue on the inside there, that's the light. For some reason it makes it smaller. Maybe something to do with history or something. I tried deleting the history and that didn't fix it, but that's fine. We'll roll with that for the second, and we'll just see what that's rendering like. So now we're getting something a little bit more nuclear. We can mess around with that a bit. So we'll go into our light, and we're going to just drop the intensity down to sort of 10, I think. We'll keep. We can change the color to be the same color. That'll just make things a bit simpler. It will multiply. We might switch that back to white in a second, but you can see that that's sort of having a bit of an effect. I am going to change the size of that though to be somewhat closer. But with these mesh lights, if it clips your mesh too much, you might run into that issue. So I'm just going to make it slightly smaller. So I'm going to switch that back to white just while I work on the color of the liquid a little bit further. Alright, so I'm just going to change a few more things before we wrap it up. We're just going to go back to the glass because I noticed I had missed something. So I'll run the IPR. The glass has no roughness on it currently, so I'll change it to 0.2. I'm going to use the Beckman-Cook tolerance BRDF model for the roughness on that one. And the reason I just wanted to touch maybe a little bit less, actually, maybe 1.1. I want a little bit of roughness, so just so the highlights get picked up a bit easier, and then that way you'll get a slightly nicer render. So at the moment the mesh light is visible, which I was just overlooking. If you turn it off, you'll actually get a more sort of liquidy look, which can be nice if you're wanting to hit that silhouette. So you can see the roughness on the edge of the silhouette as being a little bit more visible now from all angles, which will allow you to do more things with the liquid. If you're wanting a super highlighted thing from the light itself, then you can certainly just keep it visible, but making it invisible will also allow you to increase its intensity without it blowing out the color of the liquid itself. And now you can sort of see the reflection of that blue, the blue highlights that I've got in there. So yeah, with that blue light, you're getting that sort of mixture in the top there and on the silhouette as well. And then obviously you could change the color to something like yellow. That might be a little bit weird. Try and find something complementary to your, obviously to your liquid color, which is why maybe something like blue, but probably something a little bit more washed out like that might look good. And then you can control how visible the silhouette is just with the roughness very simply. So if you increase a lot, you'll obviously see a lot more of the inside of the material, and obviously it will look a lot rougher, so you need to use that with caution. Probably like anywhere up to 0.2 is going to look okay, and then after that I think it might be getting a bit much. I think that the center part here on this one, I'm not sure if that's actually a reflection or not. I think the center part of the liquid is just a bit too skinny still, and it's actually intersecting the light shape. Alright, so just to fix that noise with the liquid there that we were seeing before, I've actually just increased the size of the mesh light. I think it was just clipping the very edge of the liquid mesh, which was causing excess noise. So that'll create a quicker render overall, so you get something nice and clean like that without too much hassle. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one though. I don't think I need to go into too much detail. That's pretty much all you need to know to get on your way to creating your own lovely vial of magic. And if you have found this useful, make sure you click the like button so other people can find this on YouTube. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, as I do a couple of tutorials every week for software like Redshift and zBrush and other CG products as well. If you'd like to stay up to date further, make sure you check out the Facebook page, link in the description. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for watching, and happy rendering.